Hey guys, welcome to another live stream. This is the third of 2020. Trying to get back in the stream of things. If you can see and hear me, give me a thumbs up. If you're a channel member, you can do I think the good emoji, so I can make sure that everything is operating correctly. So I see some people are saying the picture looks and sounds good. I make sure I mute a couple of things. So hopefully you guys are having a good Tuesday. I'm running a little bit behind, so I apologize for being a little bit late, but I'm here now, so hopefully we can get it going. Oh, cool! I do see the yes, and I do see the good, I think. So that's pretty cool. So on that, I guess I'll start out with that. YouTube did turn on channel memberships, so if you want to support the channel and support what we're doing here or what I'm doing here, you can right below the description of the video or in that area, there'll be a join button and you can become a channel member and get cool emojis and all kinds of cool stuff. It does look like my resolution is a little bit higher, so you guys have to let me know if the stream chops up a little bit. So I'm kind of testing a new configuration, and I may be causing myself problems. You know how I like to do. The other thing I want to mention is I'm still working out the details on the Dad Talk Today show. We were in some discussions on whether that should start tonight, and it just wasn't a good time with work and everything. That's kind of my biggest roadblock right now is getting home, setting everything up, and then putting a show on. That's why this one was a little bit late, and why I'm trying to rethink things, how to leverage them better. The other thing I want to mention is I am not a therapist. I'm an individual much like you, basically peer support, who's gone through some pretty traumatic stuff, and I've developed some tips and techniques that I share with you to help you get your life back. If you've been around the channel a while, or if you're new, just look at the comments. You can see often where people will say how this stuff has been helping them. Bottom line is, if you're watching a video and it resonates with you and you're like, holy crap, this is my life, stick around, because you might find the path through the darkness to get you to the other side of all this. The topic I wanted to hit tonight is, well, let me ask you guys this. For the 22 people that are here right now, I'm sure everybody has heard of the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp fiasco and what just recently was leaked. If you have, give me a thumbs up or a one, or if you're in you can do the yes emoji. And I think it's a really good high-profile example of false allegations of just, lying about what's going on and painting a picture of. Okay, so I see a couple of people say they are in the dark. Okay, so you all know who Johnny Depp is. Amber Heard is his now ex-wife. She happened to be in Aquaman. She was the redhead in Aquaman. And Johnny Depp, hopefully you know who he is, because he's been around forever, all the way from 21 Jump Street, Jack Sparrow and Pirates of the Caribbean, and a bunch of other movies. Well, like a year and a half ago, it came out that his wife said that she was physically and emotionally abused and tormented by Johnny, and that he had an alcohol problem and he was violent and really torpedoed his career. They don't have children, but they high profile, cost Johnny some movie roles, lost him about $50 million, which is what is happening now. Is they are in a legal battle now where he is suing her for defamation of character and suing her for $50 million in lost earnings. The thing is whenever this came out, it seemed pretty damaging for Johnny Depp. He didn't really say much. She was coming out, the battered person, the wife that's been just brutalized by this toxic man who had used his power and influence and physical violence to just torment her. And she finally left and was shining light on domestic abuse. The reality of this is back then it seemed believable. She had some secret recordings which showed him throwing something out of kind of like out of context because you didn't know what happened. But today, or not today, but in the last few days, I think over the weekend, a tape was leaked of them having a conversation where they both were recording, which was very interesting. And she admitted multiple times in that interview, in that recording, of being physically violent, of being, of attacking him. And every time he would try to communicate, and I'm not going to play any of it. I mean, if you guys want to look at it, and I may make a video that kind of breaks it down with more examples later, but it was hard to listen to. And ultimately the tidbits have come out is she admitted to being physically violent. And as more things are coming out, it seems like there's more and more evidence that Johnny Depp was actually the abused and she was the abuser. It's one of those things where, see, here's the hard part about this. Because in our situation, when you guys come to the channel and we talk amongst ourselves, we believe everybody that's sharing their story. And excuse me, it's kind of easy in our situation because we're being there for someone else, right? So there's not like you're jumping in the fray and someone is picking up the sword to defend you. So there's a little bit of distance in our situation, so we have some latitude, right? The problem is that this can screw with. Let me back up. There's a multitude of issues. The first issue is an example of somebody lying, of the system being used to tear someone down for someone else to achieve their goal. We see that all the time. It's not just in this particular situation with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Obviously, she's the one who's now coming out to be the abuser. But it's either way, right? I mean, you have a toxic person who's targeting a victim. And that can be, the toxic person can be a man or it can be a woman. And the person on the other end of it is basically just getting bombarded with all these false allegations and just trying to survive. Now, probably the good thing in Johnny Depp's situation is he's a bazillionaire, so it's not like he loses. I mean, he loses future earnings, and ultimately it looks like it'll all get worked out. But he was okay, right? I mean, he probably, he wasn't living in his car like some of us end up having to do. He wasn't, living on someone's couch because he was booted. Actually, he was booted out of his house, but I mean, he's got resources. And you take the other part of it where people don't have the resources and they're sitting there fighting it. And oftentimes when somebody is the first one to the punch, I guess for, no pun intended, to throw out an accusation and set the foundation for the story, that's kind of the way it starts to go. So that's why it's oftentimes in our situation, man or woman, you're sitting there with this vision of how things are going to go, that you're going to be able to work it out. You're going to be able to work together, be cooperative, all those kind of things. And then you find out that you were wrong and the story is completely different. And then you're in defensive mode when someone's saying, oh, look, here's all the paperwork that shows that they did whatever. And you're like, what? I mean, hell, that happened to me. I mean, I turned around and was being accused of all kinds of crazy stuff, So I mean, what's the takeaway, I guess, on this? And actually, while I'm pausing on that, let me see what you guys are saying, because I see some comments going back and forth. So it seems like some of you guys aren't familiar with this story. Rick Mash says, those 21 Jump Street days showing our age. Oh, wow, that is like super small. That is not, that's like not readable. Let me see if I can, there we go. See, like I said, I was playing some games. So those 21 Jump Street days showing our age. There's a show in the 80s, if you guys aren't aware, where you have a bunch of cops who were infiltrating high schools to track down drugs, and Johnny Depp was one of the police officers who was going in and doing that thing. It was actually pretty interesting. I don't know. People don't talk about it that much, but it was a very popular show back in the day. All right, so Divorce Papa says projecting, absolutely. And here's the other thing, you guys, and I'm sure you all are aware of this, is a toxic narcissistic person will absolutely try to beat you to the punch and destroy your credibility, destroy your ability to defend yourself. We often talk about the fact that that's kind of what the whole purpose of a smear campaign is. And it could be possible that maybe in Amber Heard's case, she was looking at it saying, thinking that if she throws this out here, he would just settle to make it go away, and they could just, pretend it didn't happen. But she was very public in it. She wrote an op-ed on it when it happened 18 months ago. It was a really ugly situation. I've also come across, when I was researching this, some additional information that's even worse, showing what was happening at the time, and and this is all part of, I guess, the evidence that they're they're getting ready to bring up, where her parents were talking to Johnny and saying some things that you would not expect somebody to say to the spouse, of their child who is beating them and they are scared to death. It was very weird. On top of the fact, and I wish I had this clip, one of the things that I saw in another video, a lot of videos are focusing on the actual recording that's just been released, but there's some that are focusing on some of the other details. And one of the things is this text message back and forth with Amber Heard's mom and dad, between Johnny Depp. And they were blaming it on, she made these allegations because her attorney said that's what she needed to do. She needed to say that he beat her so that she could stay in the penthouse and wouldn't get thrown out. And I want to bring that part up because oftentimes that's exactly what a person will do. They'll create this complete chaotic situation, and then when you try to call them on it, they'll just say, "Oh, I was just doing what my attorney said. That was the advice I got." And the hard part is if you're not really thinking clearly, you'll look at that and you'll actually rationalize and go, "Oh, okay, the sweet little butterfly that I know would never do that." So it has to be that an external influence is making them do it. That's crap. Let me put that right now. It is not true. If they are doing something, they're doing it because they want to. If they're making something up, they can lie and tell you that they're doing it because someone is telling them, they're getting advice by an attorney. I mean, seriously, an attorney's going to tell them to lie. It's what they want to do. So they go in and they just kind of hint at things. I know my ex did that. And I think a lot of people, that's what you end up in. And then the problem is if you create any situation where you fall into their trap, then you kind of reinforce their story, and it just creates just total pandemonium. I'll grab this question from Bonnie if it pops up. Bonnie says, what do you do during a wicked smear campaign? How do you recover from it? Well, you take everything, Bonnie, that we were just talking about, and you have to remind yourself of what's going on, right? They're attacking you to try to eliminate your credibility. And the biggest obstacle most of the time is how we try to defend ourselves. Because what happens is they make us look, the target, or they'll make the target look like they're unhinged. They'll be saying that, oh, they're abusive, oh, they they do this. Oh, they, I mean, I'm trying to think of some scenarios. They're scary, they're angry, they're violent, they're emotionally abusive, they're just chaotic. And then if you start trying to defend yourself in an emotional way, in a loud, boisterous way, what ends up happening is you end up in the person that's being, the triangulation in this, showing that what they're saying is legit. The best way to deal with it is slow yourself down. Don't directly try to defend yourself. And if you are, stay away from the people who are believing the smear campaign. And if you have to engage with them, you do it in a very calm, methodic, logical way to where you're not communicating it in an emotional way. And this might actually be easier for men to do, even though men can get emotional in the angry sense when they're trying to communicate this. But this goes for both men and women. If you can communicate, you slow yourself down, talk, calmly, and just say, I don't know what, you would basically you would basically systematically break down their argument or what the story is and try to say, well, and do it in a calm way. I'm trying to formulate an idea in my head right now to where it would be like, if someone is saying, okay, let's say this. Let's say somebody is saying, I can't ever see the kids, so-and-so is not allowing me to see my kids. I'm trying and everything. And then what I would say on that is, let's say hypothetically, let's say you have, 50-50. Well, not 50-50. Let's say 80-20. So the person sees the kids on the weekend and someone says, hey, X, why won't you ever let Y see the kids? And you could be like, well, instead of like getting upset about it, and you would just say, well, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Well, Y says that you never let them see the kids, you don't let them talk to them, and you're like, wow, that's weird. Well, the court order visitation says he gets them, or the XY gets them. I'll just say use letters because it could be man or woman because this happens to both. Y can see them, all weekend and can call them, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6. They just don't. I mean, I'm not going to chase them around. I'm not going to chase them around to try to get them to use their visitation. But see, that's the thing. I had a situation where that happened with me on that first Christmas holiday season that the divorce was final. And the ex announced that she was taking the children out of state and that she would have them call me on Christmas Day. And I'm like, to the ex, I'm like, no, the court order says whoever doesn't have the kids gets to see them for a few hours on Christmas. She's like, I've decided that that's not the way I read it. That's only if we both agree. My point is that, roll the clock forward, talking to a mutual friend, and this topic comes up, and I start getting attacked on why am I being an asshole for not allowing the ex to take the kids out of state. And I'm like, luckily I was able to see, oh crap, I'm not communicating this well. The story's already been set that I'm just being selfish. And I had to sit there and go, hold on. Here's the situation. The kids are really, really worried about this. They're not happy. The court order specifically says whoever doesn't have the kids for the long break gets to see them for a few hours on Christmas Day. It's in the court order. That's all that we're doing, And what I said is, hey, she can go the next day and spend the rest of the vacation in out of state. I don't care. Not a big deal. I'm not trying to prevent her from ever seeing her family and stuff like that. And that's what I'm saying is that's how you have to deal with it. You have to communicate it in a very rational way. And all you guys need to be really aware. You kind of have to keep, one foot out of the emotional part of this so that you can actually watch and see what's going on real time. Because you need to be able to detect if you're trying to communicate something, you're trying to defend yourself in the smear campaign to where people, you can see if you've lost them, right? So if you're in the midst of an argument or you're in the midst of a defense to try to explain your story and people are like looking at you like, Oh, you're nuts, right? You've lost. And you have to roll it back and say, okay, I'm not communicating this well. Now, rolling this back into the situation with Johnny Depp, amazingly enough, he did not expose all of this information way back when. He's kept this pretty damn quiet. Maybe he was just trying to get the case, get all his evidence. I'm not sure. So let me see if Bonnie said anything else before I move on. Let's see. I'm scrolling around and I'm missing it. Darn the luck. Sai says, Bonnie, you're better off no contact. I don't speak to my abusive being either. Yeah, and what I would say on that, the takeaway really is, if you're dealing with people who don't believe you, you phase them out. They're not worthy. We go through this phase where we want to recruit people to our side because we want chips on our side to say, well, see, these 5 people believe me and these 4 people believe you, so I have more, right? I mean, it's human nature to get into that mode, and I get it. Okay, try a little bit, but as soon as it seems like it's not working, it's not helping you because it's just dragging you back down into the pit of hell. Let's see here. I'm scrolling around. Oh man, I want to grab this, what Lenny said in a minute. Let me see what Bonnie said, then I'll grab Lenny's comment. Oh shoot, there was a lot of comments. So I missed, hopefully I didn't, I tell you what, did I miss anything on that with what Bonnie said? And then I'm going to, sorry, I'm off topic. Ooh, I like this, what Lyle says. The same can be asked. A mentally ill person is saying all this crap about me. How do I respond to it? You don't take the bait. Lyle, you're spot on, man. Absolutely. It's tough though, right? Because we all want to defend ourselves. We all want to we want to save our reputation. We don't want to be said this. I mean, and think about it. I mean, like in the situation of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, I'm sure there's some people, especially in this community, I think people start to get a little bit more cautious of what they believe. You see a story come out, and instead of reacting immediately on it, you pause for just a moment to make sure that you got all the facts and you really understand what's going on. I wanted to grab this. Lenny says, Duane, my son wants to live with me, but he's scared of telling his mom. He's 11. And my daughter was 11 and decided not to see me anymore, totally alienating me, but mom supports that. See, that's a tough one, man. And the problem is, what exactly is like your 11 well, I guess you said your daughter's 11. Oh, I see what you're saying. When your daughter was 11, she did that. So I don't know how old she is now, but the thing is, Lenny and Evan, it's really See, this is the screwed up part about this, is because the kids become pawns, right? And if we don't do anything, then it just creates, what am I trying to say? Bottom line is, the only way this is going to work is your son has to be willing to say it, has to be willing to say it to an attorney, be willing to say it to a judge, be willing to say it to his mom, and deal with the consequence. It's totally screwed up that a child is put into that situation, right? And then it's like, it's a double bind situation that I talk often about. Because Lenny, what you're talking about is absolutely a double bind. You push it so that your son's desires are heard and potentially result in him living with you. But that puts him right in the middle of it, because you know damn good and well that as soon as you reach out to the ex, and you could reach out to the ex and say, hey, little Evan has stated that, he would really like to live with me like Amber did whenever she was 11. But you and I both know that that's going to turn into a complete, total S show and put him right in the middle. Or you just don't say anything and he's still in the middle, right? I mean, it's a lose-lose situation. It's just where you have to kind of look at the situation and pick pick the best worst situation or scenario that you can. So, Lenny, if you have any more to add on that, I would love to hear it. Let me scroll down here. What are we doing? 25 minutes. Oh man. So I'm going to grab this. Bonnie says, my sister literally alienated me from my 90-year-old mother. Probably got mom to take me out of her will also. Is it even worth it to get a lawyer to look into? That is a tough one. There's a few people on the channel who are in a very similar situation. I mean, personally, my thought on it is it's not, but but other people on the channel, they have consulted an attorney. They have done some things to be able to contest it. Yeah, I mean, it really depends. I mean, it depends on how much money you're talking about, how important it is to you, how important, I mean, not emotionally, because right there's the emotional importance and the emotional cost of fighting this and not fighting it, connected with the financial ramifications of it. It's a really tough one. Personally, I think most of the time it's not worth it because it's just a mess and it keeps you stuck with it. But I have, not in this scenario, but there are things that I have fought with my ex that I just couldn't let go. The retirement account thing is one of those things where I was being encouraged by some people to let it go, and it was just too much money. I just could not roll over and let it go. And I don't know if I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where you know what you need to do, and you can't get into the mode of that of being able to let things go until you're ready, right? Like today, there's certain things that I haven't brought up, I haven't fought for. Another example is medical stuff starting to come up again with the kids. The ex still hasn't paid. And I'm really at the point now where it's like, man, is it really worth it to even try to engage with her for a couple $100? I mean, is it really worth the potential cost of extra drama? Anybody who's been on the channel for a little while remembers where I was talking about that, where I kind of poked the bear a little bit a few months ago, and it really seemed to have potentially been the catalyst for some problems with my youngest. So, I mean, it's really a tough one. Best case scenario is that all of us get to the mental zen part of this process to where none of it, like what I'm talking about now, where I'm looking at it going, man, do I even really want to try to get the back pay back for a few $100s that she hasn't paid me, plus all the stuff that's coming due right now? Or do I just pay it? I mean, do I just let it go and just say, you know what, I got 3.5, 4 more years under this, and be done with it? That's kind of where I'm at now. It's not really worth the cost of my sanity and my peace to engage with her on things anymore. So, but keep in mind, I mean, I've been at this for a little over 8 years, almost 9 years. John says, Duane, you can contest a will, but for what price? Yeah, exactly. Oh, that didn't go. I tried to pop that up. That did not pop up. Did it pop up that time? And yeah, I mean, it's I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, if you're talking about millions of dollars, if the estate is $5 million and, it's going to, set you up, I mean, that's your retirement, your part of it is whatever. But it's one of those things where you look at it and it's like, well, how much is, what is it really? I mean, I look at it like in my situation, if something happened with my dad and my brother was to run off with everything, I don't know if that would happen, but would I fight it? I don't think I would. It's just, so, but it's like, it's a question for, I mean, it's one of those individual things. See, I agree with John Boston on this. Come on, why is this not? There it goes. Duane, it's not worth getting sick over and the stress of it. Your life has been, gosh darn it, my little thing just shut down. It's not worth getting sick over the stress of it. Your life is happiness and well-being is more important. That right there is critical, guys. That's the critical point on all this stuff. And it's super hard to get to that point because I will tell you that for the first 3 years of my situation, I was sick and stressed and fighting constantly, trying to hold her accountable, trying to, play all those games. And all it did was aged me, made me gray. Technically, I was already gray, but I'm going to blame it on this. Anyway, so yeah, it's tough though. But see, the thing is that here's the dilemma. I don't know what someone could have said to me during those first 3 years to help me see that reality. Maybe, and this is part of the reason why I made this channel in the first place, was maybe if somebody could string along a thought, explain it to me, tie it up in a little bow, NP, potential personality disorder, cluster B. These are the characteristics. These are the patterns. I would have been able to see the patterns and go, oh my God, yes, that's exactly what I'm seeing. And someone could say, well, this is what I went through and this is what I tried and this is what it cost me emotionally. This is what I gained, not much. And now I've come to this, this realization that I only fight certain things and most of the stuff isn't important. And if they were able to say, is it really that important? I probably would have said, well, I might have said yes. And then they would have said, really? Really? Is it really that important? Is it really that important to try to roll around with a pig in the mud to get, to get them to stop? They're not going to stop. Work around it, right? And maybe that would have been enough to break, to get me to that other side. But I tell you, there was times where I couldn't get myself to that mode where I was so angry and frustrated. I still have every right to be angry and frustrated now. It's not worth the emotional cost, There's some stuff that's happened at the beginning of this year that I'm going to wait a little bit more before I talk about it. That was really stressing me out, and causing, negatively impacting my life associated potentially with the ex. Not that she was doing anything directly. It was just trying to figure out some logistics. And it's tough, right? And I think this was probably, I've now gotten to the point where I don't rush to make a decision. I slow down. I wait until I get all the information together because most of the time it just creates more problems. Let me scroll around on this. Oh man. Lenny says, Duane, gosh darn it, it's not popping. There it goes. The school psychiatrists and counselors see the problem, but the court fails to. It's a game to hurt me and the kids suffer. 4 lawyers, 4 law guardians, 3 judges, 7 years of these games. See, and man, that's a tough one. I don't know if you said, let me see if you said anything else. Technically, if you have, okay. This is an earlier comment, and this is a catalyst that just destroys the whole thing. It says, Duane, last year he wanted to live with me. I lawyered up, and 6 months later he changed his mind. He said, Mom flips out. I tried court for mediation or counseling for my daughter. Mom says no. Here's the thing. As soon as your kid changes your mind, you're screwed, right? And that's the problem. And I've seen this happen a lot. I've seen where people will say, I want to live with you. And the person lawyers up. And typically what happens is they lawyer up. By the time you get into it, the kid changes their mind for whatever reason. It doesn't matter what the reason is. It's just at the end of the day, if they tell the court that they changed their mind and they don't want to, it's done. And the sad part is now people are going to think, the court's going to think that you were manipulating the situation. You got little Johnny, little Evan to say that. And now, and when it comes, push comes to shove, they don't say it. That being the case, Lenny, man, the problem is he going to do it again? You know, you've already set the precedent to do it. And most of the time what happens for anyone who, I mean, I don't know if this happened to you, Lenny, but most of the time what happens in those situations is you go back to court, the child changes their mind, and hey, while we're here, let's reevaluate everything. And oh my gosh, you should be paying more child support. So you've dumped a ton of money in attorneys to try to change custody. It falls apart. And now since you're there, we might as well key in the new calculation and see what happens. And I have not known anybody yet, if anybody out there has had a different experience, but everyone I've known, it's gone up. If anyone out there has gone through a scenario like this and your support payments have gone down, I mean, it's been beneficial to you financially, say something in the comments. And somebody asked what I was drinking earlier, and it is tea, green tea. So, all right, I'm scrolling down. Hey, Spiritually Empowered Coaching. Hello, glad you could jump on. All right. I just, I'm kind of at a pause with what that last one. I've seen that so many times, and I know I've said that before, and that is so important. If you have a young child and they're saying they want to live with you, part of the problem is are they literally going to stay with that thought for the remainder? Because the other question is are they telling you that because that's what they think you want to hear? Are the kids, and I think it happens a lot. I think it happens to both moms and dads where the kids will say they think that the parent will be happy if they know that I'm telling them that I want to live with them because that's what they want to hear. Because the kids are trying to create peace and stuff. It's just a mess. All of this crap is a mess. Let me scroll back down to the bottom. That is why, I agree with Matt, that is why default equal share parenting is so damn important. So that this crap doesn't happen and each parent has an opportunity to be actively in their kid's life. And there's still going to be games. Anybody who thinks that equal share parenting is going to fix everything is naive. Is it going to make things better? Yes, I think so. And if you had a channel, if you were following a channel like mine and getting the information to help you deal with it whenever the shenanigans do start, then I think you'll be a lot better off. Let's see. Chris says, we went to... All right, there it pops up. We went to trial and I presented evidence of how she is, but then again, she still does it. See, that's the other part of this, and I'm not sure what the details are, Chris. I don't know if you shared them. I know you've shared them to me previously, but we haven't chatted since you went to court, because I think you did that in the last couple of weeks. But oftentimes, you spend all this money to expose the person. The judge will say, knock it off. There's no real recourse to it. And then they have to do it again. And then you have to go back to court again. And maybe they will say, probably they'll say, I told you before, you need to knock it off. And then it's just a mess. All right, let's see. John says, Duane, my kids have told me that they wouldn't live with me because kids live with their mothers. You know what? I almost said something similar to that to my dad. And so kids can absolutely be brainwashed. And he goes on to say, also, my kids told me I need to give mom more money to support them. I'm disabled. See, and the thing is, they shouldn't even be saying that, right? That right there is clear evidence of parental alienation. They shouldn't even be in the middle of all that. And I'm sure it's like, well, if your dad wasn't such a deadbeat, or such a loser, and it might be more subtle, or it could even be not so direct like that, but it could be like, oh, well, your friend's Jamie's mom, their dad really works hard and is able to, support them and do the college fund and all this stuff. I mean, so oftentimes it's not a direct attack. It's a very subtle, very sadistic little, inception of an idea. And you guys, you need to realize that most of the time this parental alienation doesn't occur overt in your face, in the kid's face. It's very subtle. It's very manipulative. It's very specifically communicated in a way to where it's like you're saying it with a smile and you're feeding someone a turd sandwich, and they don't know that's what it is. And then what happens is oftentimes the targeted parent tries to directly defend themselves, and then the kids just look at it like you're the one who's bad mouthing the other parent. I get that all the time. It's annoying. Lenny says, Duane, thank you. This really helps. I took him to get his hair cut, and then she cut it shorter. He comes in small clothes, gives him a hard time about stuff I buy him. Mom tells him I owe money too. It's so, oh my God. It's just, see, that's a good example. Well, that's a good example of parental alienation. And that's also a good example of sabotaging special events, right? You take him, you're getting his hair cut, and it's not good enough. You didn't do it well, and try to erase it. And it puts the kid in the middle. I mean, it's freaking horrible. The thing is, Lenny, the key point on that, and for everybody, is when those things happen, don't take the bait. It's an eye poke. If anyone out there has got the emoji, do the eye poke emoji. And it's to try to get you to respond, right? I mean, really the best thing is, it's like the reverse psychology thing. Whenever your little buddy comes back, you go, hey man, you got your hair cut a little bit shorter. That looks really good. How do you like it? Oh, I like it. It's great. Oh man, that's good. Well, next time we'll do it like that. Okay. I mean, just make it like it's nothing, right? Right? Because damn good and well when you go back, it's like, oh, what did your dad say about your hair, your haircut, honey? Right? I've made that mistake. I have fallen into that trap. I think we all do. There we go. Divorce Papa did a boop. Thank you very much. Thanks, Divorce Papa. I appreciate that. I think you might be the only channel member on tonight, to be honest. Oh, wrong button. What did I do here? All right. Well, I'm not going to post. I wanted to post your comment, Matt, but I'm not going to because I don't want YouTube to. Well, I won't post it on the screen. But it says Matt says I don't want a fairy tale, but maybe, hey, it's tough there. Do this. All I hear is you're effed. It's okay. It's a perspective change, right? And this is kind of what I go back to at the beginning of this video when I was talking about, like the double binds and how I was angry for so long. I still have every right to be angry. I am still financially ruined. I was looking at some stuff. I mean, it's for retirement and stuff. I mean, I'm screwed. And I can choose to grab onto that and ride that into the pit of hell, which does nothing positive for me, or I can try to find my peace in this entire situation and find some joy. And what I will tell you is when I made that pivot, things got better in the way I approached and felt about things. A lot of people during the course of this live stream have talked about the emotional cost. And I don't think that people realize that there really is, there is a way, even if you've lost everything and it feels like all it is hopeless and negative, that there's a way through this to get your life back. And if you're in the beginning part of this, you can be thinking, well, how? How does this get better? How does this, I've lost everything. My relationship with my kids is messed up. What happens is you have to, slow yourself down and take a deep breath and find the peace and the joy that you can. There's stuff I don't mention to you guys that's going on. I tell you guys a lot. You guys know a lot of what's going on, but there are some things that are just really frustrating. But I find the moments that I can have positive interaction with all three of my kids. It's not easy all the time, right? I am trying to get myself out of this financial hell I'm in, and my hope is that I will figure something out, which I am not it'll just work out type of person. I'm a very methodical, planning person, and that was something that was really hard for me to get over, talking about like the retirement and the finances and stuff. What you have to do if you can, I see Matt says, I'll just post this one on the screen if it goes. It says, thanks, Duane. My life is my son. Divorce is tough, but he and I need half of our lives together. We love each other. And that's why a lot of my videos I talk about, that's the key. You focus on the relationship with your kids. If your ex has totally screwed it up and you only get to see them, your kid, once a month, it'll freaking hurt, right? But you do the best you can with the time you have, and you make sure that your kid knows that you love them. You don't bring the crap up because there's nothing they can do about it, and you do everything in your power to make sure that your relationship is strong, because your ex is going to try to destroy it. Fighting, you can fight. You can try to fight and adjust custody and stuff, but at some point you have to realize that it's a losing battle and just find a path through it that you can survive through, and it's at those double binds. There's no good solution, right? There's no good answer for this. The best answer would be if I had full custody of my kids and I would have been able to deprogram all the toxicity that they have gone through and try to set them up for the best life possible. I wasn't able to accomplish it. The best I could do, thank God, was 50-50, so I have half the time. I will tell you that it has been a freaking nightmare. But I hope that you guys can see my videos and see that I'm not an angry, bitter person. I've made my peace with it. I'm doing the best I can, and that's what, Matt, like in your situation, that's what you have to do. That's how you get out of this. That's how you excuse me, deal with this in a way to where you don't lose yourself in the process. It's tough. A lot of people on the channel have gone through some horrific situations. We have people on the channel tonight who haven't seen their kids in years, who's been basically completely erased. And they loved their children as much as we, all of us, we all care about our kids, and they lost. But there's a handful that have been able to make their peace with it and are still trying to live a life. The reality is your toxic ex is going to try to destroy you. Not necessarily to hurt you. It's because they don't want you in their life. They don't want to have to deal with you. They don't want you to, they want you to go away. And the best way take this Amber Heard thing. The best way to make someone go away is destroy everything to destroy them. Ruin their credibility so no one will believe you. Everyone will think that you're the leper, and look at you, like, oh my God, there comes Bill, man, do you know what he did? That type of thing. Or Johnny in this situation for the story we were talking about earlier. Now, and I'm not sure, I missed part of this. So Matt says, let me get this straight. I lose because my wife thinks equal share parenting is not stable. That's it. Hey, that didn't pop up again. Damn it. No, my ex said the same thing. The kids need to be with their mother. This is their home. That's not, your house isn't their home. They live with me. I'm their mother. You can visit them. That's what she said. And I said, all I ever said is 50-50. No, you can have 80-20. 50-50. No, you can do a custody evaluation. Pay for a custody evaluation. I want 50-50. No, you can. Custody evaluation came back and said, there's nothing wrong with either of these dumbasses. 50-50 would be appropriate. She ran out of money and stopped. Just because someone says that equal shared parenting or shared parenting is wrong, that's bull. I mean, unless you live in a state that they don't do that, but most states now, I mean, hell, even California, liberal California has turned into not a presumptive 50-50 state. You still have to fight for it. I still had to go to court and I still had to fight for it. And a lot of places, they are now saying it. I mean, unless somebody moves, unless they turn around and they move out of state or move far away to where you can't do it. So Matt, no. No, you don't just lose because they say something. And equally so, what I will say is that means if you have full custody, man or woman, and the other person comes back in and says, I want full custody now. They can say whatever the hell they want. It really boils down to, can they prove it? Can they demonstrate that it's best for the kids? Most areas right now are starting to look at it saying, they're realizing that, oh shoot, kids need both parents. And they're doing that. So, so don't give up, Matt. I mean, I'm reading one of your other comments. So Matt, I tell you what, Matt, send me an email so we can talk about this offline. But what I will tell you, everything you're saying, I was saying the same thing, except I was adding a few more swear words every time I would talk to someone on that. So I appreciate you not doing that. It's one of those things. I mean, I remember feeling everything you're writing. That's what I felt. I'm like, what? She's going to get full custody. She's going to moved out of the state. She's going to take everything. I'm never going to get to see the kids again. I mean, like, what? I was going down, Matt, what you're talking about, that's the thought process I was going down. I even got to the point where I was mentally preparing myself that was what was going to happen. I was convincing myself that I was going to lose, that I'm not going to win this. Men don't win, especially in California. It's not going to happen. I'm going to get hosed. So I just need to accept it because it's going to happen. And I'm going to, I'm going to have to deal with it. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to survive emotionally or mentally. And I got 50-50. And the sad part about it is after I got 50-50, I didn't feel like I won. I felt like I got run through a freaking firestorm, a meat grinder. And I didn't feel like I won. I mean, there was like a couple of days where it was like, oh, cool, this is finally over. But then, the non-co-parenting was occurring and no information was being shared. And oh, by the way, the information is still not being shared. But I worked around it. So don't give up, Matt. So anyways. All right, where are we at on time? We're coming up on an hour. So let's see, were there any new channel members that I didn't recognize? I'm trying to make sure that if someone does that, I see that. I do appreciate all the people who have done that. I wonder if I can. Oh no! Well, I'm not going to pull that up. Oh, come on, scroll down. Lyle, I try not to, if other people want to say something, that's fine, but I'm not going to just call somebody out. But thanks for being out there, man. The big key on it is, if you're going through it, you just have to make sure that you don't make mistakes. You take things slow. And you're very careful and methodical about what you do. So, on that, interesting so far. This decade has been 2020 New Year has been interesting. A lot of crazy things going on behind the scenes. So on that, I think I'm gonna double check to see if there's anything just really pressing that I should hit. So if I miss your stuff, or anybody's comment, I apologize, because it's hard to kind of quickly scan. Oh, I will grab this one. That blonde artist says, question: how long does it usually take to stop focusing on your toxic person and focus on yourself? Unfortunately, that blonde artist, it takes a while. And when I say a while, it can take a couple of years. It took me about 3. What I ended up having to do, let me try to see if I can pull this up. What I ended up doing was a lot of therapy. I'm trying to go to my website. And I also, let me pull this up if I can. Okay, so let me move this out of the way. If you go to the website, and let me shrink this down so it goes up right. If you go to resources, so I was doing therapy. I found an excellent trauma therapist who was phenomenal. But even with that, it wasn't working. I still couldn't get her out of my head. I read some of these books, but whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. But the thing that actually helped me were these hypnosis files. And I would binge listen to in the morning, in the evening. I wouldn't necessarily do it when I was driving, because you're not supposed to do that when you're driving. But I would do it if I could go park my car under, we don't have a lot of trees, but go take a lunch break, sit in my car, play it. If I could do it in my office, I would do it. And I would listen to Mend Your Broken Heart, Getting Over Divorce, Letting It Go, and Unrequited Love. I think Letting It Go and Unrequited Love were my key go-to ones. And so it was that, and then coming up with the, let me go like this. Let me pull this up if I can do it on YouTube. Let me see if I can pull my channel up. Okay, so no, DSD. All right, hold on. I'm trying to get there too. Man, I just, come on. Let me shrink this down a little bit. Let me go like this. If you go to my main channel page, you scroll down. The first playlist is my Mindset for Narcissistic Abuse Recovery. This absolute thinking and this black hole thinking, that helped a lot. And the first part about that was every time I had to convince myself, what I did in that situation is, even though my ex isn't diagnosed with anything, it was like, okay, so she is so close to being NPD, close to being NPD. I said to myself, she's NPD. Absolutely diagnosed. It's 100% true without a doubt. And as a result of that, all the things that an NPD person, narcissistic personality disorder person does, she does. And I would remind myself every time I would think, but what about, I would say, it was fake. It was an illusion. It was manipulation. It wasn't real love. It was BS, right? And I would drill that into my head, coupled with these audio hypnosis files. And that, after about a month and a half, I started feeling a little bit better. And then it still took time for me to get to the point to where I was able to start pivoting my focus to rebuilding my life. So that blonde artist, that's the answer to that. And you just start doing that. But it's hard. I mean, I have people on the channel who every time I post a video, they post a comment how they're stuck on their ex. And I kind of say the same thing, like what I just said. And then, 2 days later, it's the same thing, and it's the same thing. A lot of it is that trauma bond that, chemically bonds us to our exes, to where we are constantly thinking about them. Partly that's because of the emotional abuse and the roller coaster and the dopamine hits that we get, because it's not all bad, right? All these relationships aren't all toxic. It's toxic with some positive. Like, so you're getting your drug, you're getting your hit, and you're chasing that, trying to get that validation from that person. And it's hard. It is really hard. So hopefully, I know that's not a great answer. I think it's important to say that, because a lot of people will look at it and think, oh, well, I should be over it. I mean, I know the person's bad. They're toxic. They did some really crappy things. It's got to be incredibly easy to just realize that this person is not supposed to be in my life. And it's not that easy. It's a lot harder than that. A lot harder than that. So, all right. Okay. On that note, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I will join the newsletter, so I'll post some more information on what's going on with the Dad Talk Today stuff. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out the logistics of that. It might even turn into where it's a recorded story and they post it on that time slot in case I can't go live. So I'm still trying to figure all of that stuff out. But before I go, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss a thing. This information will help reinforce what you're going through and give you tips and techniques to help you take your life back and minimize the damage that's happening. And if you subscribe and hit the bell notification, you won't. YouTube will most of the time tell you. And if you like what's going on here and you want to support the channel, I would really appreciate channel members. I hate to beg for that, but every little bit helps. And on that, guys, have a great night. I know this was a tough one, and know you're not alone. And I hope you can see somebody who's been through a pretty, not, a tough situation and been able to come out the other side. And there are some people in the comments who've been through worse situations and they've been able to come out the other side. So on that, take care, guys, and I'll catch you on the next video.